What's up, y'all? What's going on? Yeah. Eddie Murphy's making a comeback. I'm so excited. For those of you who've never seen Delirious or Raw, I watched that again this last weekend, and it's classic. It's still funny to this day. There might be some references that maybe if you're a millennial you don't get, but for the most part it's brilliant. And I wanted to talk about Eddie Murphy, but I also wanted to talk about the truth in comedy. And I've been talking about Friends, and we kind of, when we talk conspiracies and truth and stuff, we talk about like, what group of famous people do you think is most woke? And most people, I think comedians is number one, and maybe musicians is number two, right? But comedians, I feel like they're woke, or they're because they have to be observant, right? They have to look at something outside of themselves. They have to look at society, right, in order to write their material. They usually write their material too. They might collaborate with some people. Some people might write some stuff for them, and they might write some stuff. They usually write their own material, and they have to look outside of themselves to really relate and observe society. And if you're focused on observing society, then you can see a lot of things that other people don't really think about, because a lot of people are more so they're focused on themselves. So very interesting, right? I'm thinking, I hope he comes back. What would really make this special is if he just blasts through this whole PC thing. Like, he can be the savior that saves us from this like PC, what do you call it? Like occupation, or this PC like oppression that we're experiencing now, Like, comedy is not fun. A lot of art is not fun. I look at Saturday Night Live, and they're just so lame now. They used to be amazing, but they're so lame now, right? They used to kind of make fun of everything, and since this election, it's just been terrible. And I guess they have been a little bit more left-leaning, but for the most part, it wasn't as bad. And I feel like they have so much work to do. Like, there's so much comedy lost on jokes that can be made about the left, because you're just so completely, indubitably insane right now that, just so much, right? Just so much has been lost. But, I think about people like, Eddie Murphy, he was saying like, he was saying nigger and faggot and, pussy and bitches and everything, doing his comedy routine. And now, like, it's so offensive to everybody. It's like people don't even, on the left, don't even have a sense of humor anymore, because people are just so triggered. And I mean, what a sad life to live. Do they ever laugh at anything? Like seriously? So I was looking at oh, you guys should look this one up. When I get home, if I don't do it tonight, let me see. Well, you guys, okay, I'm gonna see if I can find a clip. I'm gonna see if I can find a few Mel Brooks clips too, because I was talking to somebody the other day about Mel Brooks and how you guys can look up, if what's that scene? Blazing Saddles, the sheriff scene. Oh my God, today people would have conniption fits. They would not be able to take it, but it was the funny shit. And I guess it was still rated R when I saw it when I was a kid, and I saw it later. I was too young to see it in the movie theaters, but my dad showed me. And I thought it was funny. And that scene, what was that movie, The Producers, where they make fun of the Holocaust, and they make fun of Hitler, and that was funny. Like, people would not think that was funny today. A lot of people would be so offended by that. Andrew Dice Clay, and I remember my mom's just a really cool lady, but I remember when I was a kid, I was probably in junior high, and I don't know, he came up, and I was like, oh, Andrew Dice Clay, he's so sexist. And Mom was like, get over yourself. He's not like, here's like, the man is married with a wife and a kid. He's not like, that's his chick. Like, he doesn't really hate women, but that was like his comedy act. He would just talk about like women and like, you know, technically his comedy act was to be sexist and to talk about sexist things and women and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But at the time, you know, my mom like snapped me out of that PC stuff. It's funny, my mom doesn't like me cursing, but she likes other people cursing and saying raunchy stuff. But I mean, what else? There's just I mean, I would really like to see that come back. I would really like to see and I think it's important to have, you know, to have that roughness, that harshness of you know, commentary on society, because we need to be able to be slapped in the face and not take ourselves so seriously sometimes. You know, that really helps. It does open up dialogue. It does get people to think about things, right, that we don't really talk about. Like, comedy can be very healing in a lot of ways. You know, it kind of breaks down a barrier. And I think that's what's so dangerous about this whole PC culture, because if you can't make fun of yourself, if you can't make fun of a lot of the crazy things, you know, this country is going through a huge change. I mean, the world's going through a huge change, but I'm speaking right now for America, is going through a huge change. You know, they're trying to censor people. They're trying to censor freedom of speech because people are so so sensitive about stuff, or they just don't want, you know, well, I think on the lower levels, I think it's people that are sensitive about stuff, because, you know, we raised a generation of pussies, of these people that, you know, are, what do they call it, like the participation trophy generation. You know, I went to a jiu-jitsu match 3 weeks ago, and then Saturday. And, you know, people lost. And, you know, I had some friends that lost and had some friends that won. And, you know, it was heartbreaking to see my friends that lost. But I'm still going to love the fuck out of them because I'm my friends. And, you know, I'm going to cheer them on anyway. And then the ones that, you know, I'm proud of them anyway. And the ones that won, it was great to see them win. But there was no participation trophies. I mean, because that's life, right? You win some and you lose some. You can't just like fucking win all the time, no matter how great you are, right? There's this girl who is a MMA fighter named Ronda Rousey. She's brilliant, like this prodigy female fighter, has like a judo background. It was like amazing. And she was unstoppable for a while. And then, you know, and she didn't really have the best attitude, you know, so that, you know, that sucks for her. And I guess when she finally got lost, this girl broke her jaw. And it sucks because, I mean, I think the other girl that was competing against her was a good sport. She's like, yeah, you know, I'm really honored. You know, when they were talking to the fighters before the match, she's like, I'm really honored to fight her. Like, this is, you know, this is a big chance for me, blah, 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 blah. And then Ronda Rousey was like, I'm gonna break that bitch's face, blah, 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 blah. And the other girl ended up breaking her jaw, and she like lost. And it was a huge blow for her because she wasn't used to losing. And I think that, what did I see in an interview of her? You know, she went to like a deep depression, and she basically was a sore loser, you know. And it's interesting with fighting, you see people that are sore losers and sore winners. And the sore losers, even though maybe they're good at their craft, it's still like a turnoff because they're probably not really an interesting or good person outside of that. The people that lose anyway, and they still have a good head about it, and they're very humbled, and, you know, I really respect those people more, even more, you know, because they realize, you know, people are people. You can't always win. You win some, lose some. That's life. You know, that's a hierarchy of life. You know, you're not going to be the best forever. You're not going to always win. Like, get over yourself. Sorry, I went on a tangent. Anyway, but because of that, we raised this, you know, participation trophy where, and then, you know, I've gone to some tournaments where I see these kids that are fighting, and I love to see these kids, like, apply the technique that they learned. It's really fascinating to see when little kids are into something, they pick it up like that, and they're just applying this technique. And one tournament I went to, some of the kids would cry. They're younger, like, I don't know, like 7, 8, of course, but there was this one girl, and, well, okay, they cry. I'm about to go into this shit, but they cry, and that's okay. But then they lose. They have to suck it up. There's no participation trophies. But I look at that and I think this is really good for them, because it's gonna instill good character in them, whereas, this is like with fighting, but I've seen other tournaments where these kids, they don't win, but then like, oh, don't cry. Here's a participation trophy. You did your best. No, they shouldn't get a trophy. They shouldn't get shit. They lost. That's what happens. You lose. You have to think about why you lost. You have to analyze. You have to go inside yourself, think about how you can get better. And that's another thing too. If they're being coddled as kids, they're not going to really think about how to get better. They're emotionally dependent on what is that? What is the word I'm looking for? Or I'll just say approval, right? They're emotionally dependent on approval. But if you're coddling them and giving them a trophy when they don't deserve one, then they grow up to be these little whiny bitchy kids. Imagine like a 7-year-old that, has a temper tantrum so they can get their way, and their parent is always giving into them, and then they grow up to be an adult like that. I've known a lot of adults like that. I don't have friends like that anymore. I had a girlfriend that was like that, and she tried to pull that shit on me. I'm like, a girlfriend, not like a girlfriend, but a friend that was a girl. Like, I like guys, just saying, but a friend that was like a girl. But her mom, I knew the relationship with her mom. Her mom coddled her a lot. And she's like this 35-year-old woman that's still throwing temper tantrums to get her way. And she's very beautiful. She's a model. So until her looks fade, she's, a lot of guys even put up with that shit. Like, guys, don't put up with that shit. You'll regret it. You have a woman that walks all over you like that, she'll never respect you. She'll cheat on you. She'll beat the shit out of you. And then these are the women that, like, when their looks fade, they get like, 10 different types of plastic surgery until they look plastic. But this generation that's growing up that doesn't have chutzpah, that doesn't have, they have very, wobbly, unstable characters, is very unattractive, and it's weakening to this country, right? Like it's making weaker human beings, weaker men, and this is why we're so susceptible to all this stuff. And I think, going back to comedy, I think, you need to learn to laugh at yourself and make fun of other people and let people make fun of you. Like, I was bullied a lot when I was a kid. I was very awkward. I had a lazy eye. I had a headgear, I didn't blossom until later in life, and it instilled character in me, and it made me very humble. And I think had I not blossomed until later, I probably wouldn't be as strong, and I probably wouldn't be able to, to take a lot of the stuff that I've taken. I'm very grateful for it, My mom didn't let me get away with shit either, I'm very grateful to have a mom that, didn't buy my bullshit. She didn't let me throw a temper tantrum. She would whip my ass in a second. I got whipped in fucking Disneyland. I got whipped in Kmart, Zodi's, fucking KFC. Like, she did not play that shit. I remember one time I was a kid. I remember the first whooping I got. I was at the LA County Fair, and they were like these bumper boats, and we were driving, driving around in the circle. And then, they give the kids a few minutes, and it was the best shit ever for me. And my mom was like, all right, it's time to go. Or they were like, oh, let's stop, time to go. And all the kids get out. And then she's like, get out of her seat. I was like, no. She's like, get your ass out. I was like, no. I held on. I went to the golf, but she was like, get your ass out. And I was like, ah! I was hysterical. I had to have my ass whipped. My mom showed me other ways you know, that she loved me. I never felt like my parents did not love me, my mom did not love me, but she also believed in discipline. And maybe, I know there are people that don't believe in physically spanking their kids, and that's fine, but you gotta find a way to, like, you know, don't let your kids walk all over you. You know, I have friends that don't physically whip their kids, but they're very good disciplinarians. They don't let their children walk all over you. You got to set boundaries. And that's another thing too. A lot of people aren't, you know, this whole, like, you know, feelings and shit and PC, it's you know, it's making people very weak, because people are scared to, like, you know, put their foot down and say something, you know, stick up for themselves, you know, let people walk all over them. It's making for a weak society. And I think on the higher level, the elites know this, because they know that comedy is one thing that can really, it's just like a, God, I can't think of the word, but it's a way, oh, I'm lacking words today, but it's a way of delving deep into the psyche, into the soul of people, to expand their consciousness, right? So when you don't have comedy, when everything is serious, when everything is so serious, when people take themselves seriously, you're basically making them weaker people. And I think that's the agenda behind, you know, also the PC stuff and the comedy. You know, you don't want people to think. It's a way of shutting people's thought processes down. So pray for Eddie Murphy. Hope he makes a comeback. And it's great. And for those of you who have not seen Delirious or Raw, oh my God, you guys have got to go see it, because you need to laugh. There's a lot of crazy shit going on. So I'll try, I'm making this in my car. I'm technically working right now. If you Google those, or you can probably find them on YouTube, and when I get home later tonight, I will put some links in the description, but I'm going to put the video up right now, so the links won't be up till later. Also, comment, but I won't be able to release the comments until I get home, because for some reason on my phone I can't do that. It won't let me when I upload. It doesn't, it like holds the comments or whatever. So anyway, all right guys, that's it. I'm Versine Henry from Truth or Talk, and sign off later. Peace, truth, love you guys. Bye bye. Mwah.